love reality TV, especially competition shows. I don't watch a lot of it because I get very obsessive and would spend every second of my time watching as much of it as possible. But I love the competition-based ones, so I figured I would try this out in some books. So I will be reading One Perfect Couple, Chain Gang All-Stars, and The Family Experiment. These all have varying degrees of how much reality TV is in the book, but I wanted to see if something that I really enjoy in TV will be something that I also really enjoy in books. Bowser, you're heavy breathing on my arm and I don't like it. I have started One Perfect Couple by Ruth Ware. I just got to part 2. Part 1 is called The Calm, and then we have The Storm. So this is a very stereotypical island reality TV show. So I thought that this one would be fun. I don't really watch this kind of reality TV. Well, okay, here's the thing. I don't watch a lot of reality TV in general because I get too sucked in. But if I do watch reality TV, it's generally not like the love-based ones. It's competition-based. And I know a lot of the love ones have like a little bit of competition, and this one does as well. But like this would not be the TV show that I would be going to watch whenever I do watch something. So in this, the show, I don't know if it has a name, but the point is to find the perfect couple. So there's 5 or 6 different couples, and we are following Lila, and she is a scientist, and she at the beginning finds out that she's probably going to lose her job, and her boyfriend Nico very much wants to be famous. He wants to be a reality TV star, and he gets this opportunity to go on the show, but she has to go with him because it's a dating show. And she very reluctantly agrees. She's like, well, I'm just going to get kicked off pretty early on because I can only have like 2 weeks off, and I'm still going to be working during that time, so it's not really time off. And she shouldn't really be doing this anyway because she is thinking her contract's not going to be renewed, so like she would pretty much be getting fired. So like, why would you, whatever. So she does this to really help her boyfriend's career. Okay, the show is called One Perfect Couple, and they end up being selected. It's in the Indian Ocean, and it's on Ever After Island. Okay, so there's 5 couples total. But then not long after they get there, things start to go wrong. When they're on the island, Lila is like, there should be this like filtration system, and I haven't seen this, and I haven't seen this, and things are just a little bit suspicious. So we watch the first challenge happen, and then the results leave people a little bit angry. Their phones were taken from them, and there's like no sort of outside connection. There's no way they can access the internet or anything like that. And they're in the middle of the ocean on this island. But then things start to go wrong. So we're getting the chapters of them getting to the island, doing all of that, and those are the chapters. But then we also have pages like this. This is just the second one, and you can see it is right after chapter 1, where it's like contacting people with distress signals and things like that. So early on, we know that things start to get deadly. I have heard that this turns into a lot of survival stuff, which I can enjoy if it's done well. I have read every Ruth Ware so far. Some I've loved, some I have not, but generally I do really like her books. And this one so far is so interesting because I really like seeing the behind the scenes of it. I know the idea of thinking about like makeup and clothes and stuff for being on a TV show might not be super interesting, but like for some reason I am just like really into the whole like behind the scenes and setup. I don't want to be on a reality TV show. Like I don't want to be involved in any part of it, but they're always so messy. So I just like seeing the stuff that goes into it that we don't see. Obviously this is a book, but I'm sure she's done some research and I'm finding it very entertaining. I think that my main complaint will be that it's too long. I feel like it probably doesn't need to be almost 400 pages, but so far so good. I'm really liking it. I am interested to see how things spiral into what we know is going to happen based on the like little phone call things that we're seeing. So I will check in at the end of part 2. I have made it to part 3 of One Perfect Couple. which is roughly 300 pages in, and I struggled to get to this part of the book. Oh my gosh, it's so repetitive and kind of boring and annoying. This book is literally just men being the worst. That's it. They are in a survival situation, and certain people decide that they are going to maybe be in charge of certain things without it really being discussed. And it kind of goes to extreme lengths, and then the way that people are interacting, specifically the men, it's just too alpha male, and like, ugh, it's making me so mad. Like, this is why men should not be in charge. It's so frustrating to read. I get we're supposed to be frustrated with it, but it's too much. It's too much. I'm like to the point where I didn't want to pick it up because I'm like, I'm just gonna have to listen to these men being the worst. I don't know. And the thing is, that is the plot. There's nothing going on besides that. It is just us watching them interact as people, which could be interesting in a situation like this. Like, obviously it is life or death and things need to be decided and discussed, but just like the way that it's done, I'm not having a good time. I'm hoping that part 3 might be a little bit better. I don't know. I don't have high hopes, which is a bummer because I usually do really enjoy Ruth Ware's books, but this one has nothing going for it outside of them trying to survive. Like, there's nothing else going on because it's pretty clear what's happening to me, even though I think that there's gonna be like a little bit of a twist. Like, I'm pretty sure I know what that is, and it's just not exciting, and I'm annoyed. So yeah, it's taken me a couple days to even want to pick this back up. Once I'm reading it, like, it is quick to get through, but this book absolutely does not need to be this long. It doesn't. Nope. There's just a little bit left at this point. So I'm kind of ready to be done with this. And I'm frustrated because I tend to really like her books. And also, I had such high hopes for this one, and it has let me down quite a bit. I finished One Perfect Couple, and sadly, I think this is one of my least favorite from Ruth Ware. My least favorite is still The Lying Game, but this one is definitely towards the bottom. I'm kind of in between like 2.5 and 3 stars. I think this was so average. I think the fact that there was no real mystery in it really was a downfall. I think that if it was going to just be survival like this, it should have been significantly shorter. Like, it did not need to be this long at all, especially because none of the character dynamics or the plot were that interesting. I can definitely appreciate the conversations that were had in here, but I feel like this just was not my favorite execution of a book. And really, after part 1, the reality TV stuff is non-existent, which is why I was super interested in this book. I would have read it anyway because I have read all of Ruth Ware's books, but I was almost expecting this one to be my new favorite, and that absolutely is not the case. The end was decent. I think that it was less of a struggle for me to get through, but there was nothing in the end that like made me excited either. And then after the slog of a very long middle part of this book, like, I just did not care. So, not an incredible start. Everything in this video, for some reason, I have very high expectations for, and maybe I shouldn't have done that, but I don't know. There's just something about like the concept of reality TV that makes me think I'm gonna love it. But with this one, I was wrong. Today has been a full day of reading, filming vlog clips, and editing, and like that's all I've been doing. So I'm a little bit exhausted, but I am 118 pages into Chain Gang All-Stars. This one is definitely the most serious of this group. The other ones are definitely more lighthearted in nature, even though there's still darker stuff. So this is the Aardvark special edition that they did. I don't know how they picked it, but it was their like most popular book of the year or something for last year. So they did this edition that you could get. It's just on the spine and this. It was the same price as grabbing the book normally. So I did get this earlier this year. So the very quick synopsis of this is we are watching like fighting rings in prisons, and it has become a televised event with these like stunts and stuff, kind of similar to like wrestling but real. They are killing people. People pay like huge premiums to watch this. They go in person. There's like packages where you can get all of the like different shows and stuff so you don't miss anything, but they're also filmed at other times, so it definitely has a reality TV feel to it. So there's different like kind of prison systems, and within that there are these fighters that emerge. So you can choose to live out your prison sentence, or you can choose to fight in this system. And if you do, after 3 years of it, you are released. It is a very deadly situation. Like, most people do not get there. Only, like, the best of the best. And we are following Loretta Thurwar and Hamara Hurricane Stacker. And they are both part of the chain gang. They are the best of the best. They are the elite. This whole book is commentary on the prison system, on forced labor in prisons, and prisons being a private for-profit industry, which like, so they're pretty much gladiators that are fighting for their freedom, and they could be murderers. Our main characters are murderers, so they're not specifically good people. Like, this is for the entertainment of everybody. It's all very interesting so far. And the two women that we are following are both on the same team, and they are also in a relationship. I don't think it's super public, but like people know about it. And the synopsis mentions that things with their setup are going to change, and where I am, I think that is just about to start happening. I think this has a lot of really good commentary in it. Like, the greed of capitalism and the prison system, like, truly is ridiculous. Also, the racism within it, the, like, reality aspect of it is not quite what I was expecting. This isn't, like, promoted as, like, a, like, fun reality TV competition that, like, people would watch as trash TV on Bravo or something. But it's interesting seeing these extreme versions of things that are in our prison systems turned into something that people will pay for and view as entertainment. So I'm enjoying it. I do feel a little removed from the story, and I don't know why that is, because I feel like things are always happening. But I guess the characters also have kind of like a front to put on, so they're not really showing their true selves most of the time. So that could change throughout the book as we go. I do think that maybe it could be a little shorter as of right now. I don't know if it needs to be, 460 pages, but I am enjoying it. I've made it to part 3 of Chain Gang All-Stars. I didn't realize this was separated into 3 parts, or I would have waited until the end of part 1 to check in with you the first time. It's kind of lost me, which I'm really upset about. I was really enjoying the beginning. I thought it was really interesting, but there's just too many characters that are being introduced, and there's only one storyline that I care about. Like, we're getting a lot of people that we're learning about and, like, learning actual details about them, which I understand, like, within the context of this, but to be getting that and then to just, like, see them die, like, I'm not invested in anything other than the one storyline. And there is another one that is this guy that has started to be in a chain gang, but he wasn't introduced from the beginning, so I just think there's too much going on. And I don't know, like, the commentary is all really good and I'm interested in that stuff, but the execution of, like, the storytelling isn't my preferred way of it happening. I just feel so removed from everything, and at first I was like, it kind of makes sense, but I'm invested in one storyline, and, like, when we're in the other parts, I just don't care about what's going on nearly as much or at all, which is kind of upsetting because, like, this could, not that I think it's bad, it's just, like, not what I like in, like, a, I guess, narrative style, but I'm just kind of struggling with it. I think that if it was focused on the one storyline within the chain gang stuff and then maybe one external thing, that would work for me, because there is a storyline with that like is compelling, but we don't get enough time with that because we're getting all this other stuff. So the concept, really good. The decisions that were made aren't my favorite. I truly don't, like, specifically think it's, like, a bad choice. It's just not working well for me. I have heard the ending of this is really good, so I'm excited for that. But I'm just, like, a little disappointed. Sorry if this clip is a little bit noisy. My air conditioner is on, and also I'm on Patreon reading sprints, so my computer is on. I have finished Chain Gang All-Stars, and I'm struggling with what to rate this. I think that the concept and the conversations are worth a high rating, but the execution just was not my favorite, and I found myself really bored in most spots other than the one storyline. So I think I'm gonna give it 2.5 stars, even though, like, I wanted to love this one so badly. It has such a high rating. This one just kind of feels more outside of my genres too. Like, I don't typically read more literary fiction kinds of books, and this one just, like, sounded so good, but sadly it did not work for me. I really appreciate the conversations in here on the prison system and race within that, and even commentary on violence and people's worth. And I do appreciate that the author never excused the crimes that these people that were in jail committed, but addressed how the prison system was not helping anybody except for the people trying to make money from it. So I would recommend this if it's something you are interested in. Just be aware that there's a lot of different characters that come up. And for me, the best storyline, like the main one, wasn't enough of the focus. I did like how it ended, and I think that it would have had a higher rating if it was shorter, but sadly this one was just not my favorite. I've started The Family Experiment. I am now a third in. This is the one that I've had the highest hopes for because I have enjoyed everything I've read from John Mars, and I've read 5 books before this one, the 4 that come before The Family Experiment in this kind of sci-fi thriller series. It's not a series, but everything is set in the same world and, like, references things. One of the books in that, I'm just gonna call it a series, The Passengers, was my favorite book of last year, so very high hopes. And the concept of this one, I think, is going to be the most centered around the reality TV aspect of it, and a third in, it definitely is. So we are following 4 different couples and then a man, and they are all competing on this reality TV show where for 9 months they are raising a virtual child on a TV show. So in this series, it is set in, like, a near future with very high advanced technology. Each book in the series has a different aspect of it that, like, kind of is, like, world changing and really impacts how people in this society function. So in this world, it is set in the UK, and there's overpopulation. There's a lot of issues with people not being able to afford any sort of, like, IVF or things like that because it's so expensive. And a lot of people, just for various reasons, are not able to have a child, either because of money or their bodies or their circumstances, whatever. So we are following some different people. So there's 5 virtual children being raised. One is by a single man. Another is by an older couple who had a kid that sadly passed away. Another one is a gay couple. Another one is, I don't know many details about them for reasons. And then what is the last one? Oh, the people that have something they're hiding in their basement. So there's a variety of people that were chosen to be on the show for different reasons, and they're all competing, and people are watching it in real time, and they are able to like and dislike things as they're happening. And since it's all in virtual reality, like the people are wearing headsets and they can see like floods of hearts or thumbs downs coming up depending on their actions. So that's an interesting aspect of it. We are just watching these people like very rapidly parent. So it's 9 months, but in those 9 months they will grow to 18, and everybody gets $250,000 because that's the average cost of raising a kid at this time in the UK. And at the end, they either get to keep the rest of that and they get to continue raising this virtual child, or everything that they've done has been deleted and they get $250,000 and the chance to start their own like real life family. Everybody has different expectations going into it. Some of them we know, some we don't. I think John Mars is absolutely incredible at writing books that have really great social commentary in them. There's so much in this one with AI and reality TV shows and parenting and the cost of that and other people's input on how people are parenting, and just some stuff on relationships between people who are parenting together and in relationships. And it's very interesting. It's not one that I am like on the edge of my seat. My problem is that I compare every single one of his books to The Passengers, which is just very high tension, high stakes. And I don't think that any of his other books have that feeling, but I think this one is really interesting. It definitely is more domestic. Like, you are seeing a lot of the struggles of being a parent, but so far I'm really liking it. I'm not completely obsessed, but it's absolutely my favorite of the group so far. The problem is I feel like my first update for all of the books that I've read have been pretty positive, and then after that it goes downhill. So fingers crossed that does not continue. I am 70% into The Family Experiment, and it lost me for a little bit. Like, not lost me, but I wasn't super invested. But now I am back in it. I feel like there's been some reveals that have happened that I'm like, I'm stressed. Even though some of the things weren't like very surprising or shocking, it's just like there's something about it that I have become very invested. I think the conversations have continued to be really good. And the idea of AI being like a person or not, and like having actual feelings and stuff like that is just so interesting. It's very compelling because we are in a world where AI is increasingly becoming more of a thing. We're obviously not to the point of like children being made with AI and living as like a human and being in this separate world where your child lives. It's a lot to think about. Like, I don't know how I feel because obviously they're not a real person, but how far does technology go? Obviously it's just in books, but these feel like real characters. So it's just, I don't know. I really like discussions around AI. I find it very fascinating. And then seeing some of these people's secrets and seeing how they are presenting themselves on the show versus how they are in real life, and the things that people are maybe hiding. Like, I'm really invested at this point. I cannot wait to continue reading. I don't know what it is, but it was like in the last 10% or so that I was like, I am so into this. I just really enjoy John Mars' books, even if they're not all like 5-star all-time favorite books. His books give me a lot to think about, which I really enjoy, even though I very much enjoy mindless books as well. I just think that there's so many like real world problems that he's discussing, and like, yes, it's set in the future, but they are things that like could happen based on like our current trajectory of things. Not that I know anything about technology and AI and stuff like that. There's also some interesting stuff going on with one of the characters' backstories. I can't really tell you about it because it's not revealed until later, but I think that also leads to a lot of interesting things to think about. I'm really having a good time. I think at this point this will probably be 4.5 stars because I wasn't like super invested in the first 60%. Like, I was interested, but I don't know. Who knows? I could change my mind, obviously, either way. But I'm really looking forward to getting back into the book. I am going to lay in bed, play games on my phone, and hopefully finish it, and then I will check in with you in the morning. I finished The Family Experiment, and I am going to give this one 4.5 stars. I ended up really liking it. I think that there were a lot of things that happened at the end, and I found it very compelling. Like, I just needed to know what was happening. I think that the reality TV aspect of this one was done very well, because we were getting, like, chat room conversations of the viewers. We were also watching the characters when they were in this simulation, and we also were watching them outside of it, so we got their thoughts that were kind of removed from being on camera. I think that that was just a really smart way to do everything, to get the reality TV show, get actual thoughts, and get input from people that are watching. For me, for this to be a 5-star instead of a 4.5, it just wasn't as exciting as I wanted it to be for the first 60%, even though everything was obviously building up to all the reveals and stuff we got at the end. I just wish that it was a little more fast-paced, and like, it wasn't specifically a slow-paced book, and John Mars himself, I think, says that this is one of his more fast-paced books. But it's just like my brain comparing it to The Passengers. But this reality TV show book worked so well for me. This one was the most focused on the reality TV show aspect of it. So if you have any recommendations for other books that feature this, please let me know in the comments. I got 2.5-star books and then a 4.5-star book. So it can be something I really like, but also if I go in expecting it to be more reality TV show and it's not that, I feel like it is disappointing. If you've made it to the end and want to leave me an emoji to say you were here, you can leave me a TV emoji. Thanks for hanging out with me. I hope to see you soon. Bye.